I found some fun Raiders rumors that I wanted to talk about here on today's show. And for those that don't know, today's my birthday. If you want to spam HBD and guess how old I am, I'll be looking down at the comments. So we're going to be talking about the NFL draft and whether or not the Raiders are going to pass on a quarterback in round one. There's an interesting report around that. We're going to talk a little free agency. Should the Raiders be interested in running back Najee Harris? And then we're going to talk about a trade. Should the Raiders look at potentially trading for Deebo Samuel? Before you say no, do you know how much it's going to cost? Because after you see the cost, you might go, all right, that might change my answer here. If you're looking for daily videos every single day, whether it's my birthday, whether it's your birthday, whether it's the New Year, Christmas, Chugs and I have put out a video every single day on this channel for the past 5 years. You might not agree with everything that I do. We have over 4,000 videos on this YouTube channel. But if you believe in a commitment to excellence, if you believe in working hard, I promise you this, we're going to show you how hard you guys can, how hard people can work out there. I don't know. I heard you say something to me in my ear. It kind of threw me off. Chugs was saying, if you're going to spam FKC, you're also going to love our sponsor, Panda Sups. Use code FKC for 25% off at pandasups.com. Whether it's some workout supplements, maybe you're trying to get in the best shape of your life. I've been trying to get into a little bit better shape, and these are the products that I use. It's also owned and operated by a diehard Raiders fan. Let's go to the very first one. Coming up here on today's show are the Las Vegas Raiders going to pass on a quarterback in round one of the 2025 NFL Draft. I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies, and I'm going to say people are talking. If you would have asked me this question back when the Raiders were getting ready to play the Jags, when the Raiders were getting ready to play the Saints, I would have said no chance in hell are the Raiders going to pass on a quarterback in round one. But according to one of the most tapped-in people in the NFL draft world, Daniel Jeremiah, he said, quote, that the Raiders wouldn't be shocked if they passed on a quarterback in round one. And I find that interesting because I know for a fact the Raiders will sign or trade for a QB early this offseason because they have to. If you haven't seen that video, it's going to be down in the comments in the description of today's show. It's got over 100,000 views on it, so please go check it out. Also, have you noticed the Shedeur Sanders value? It has definitely been sliding, and I think because Shedeur's value has been sliding backwards, and some of these other quarterbacks that we maybe have thought were third-round potentials, not like the Jackson Darts, the Jalen Milrose, they're starting to creep up a little bit. So could the Raiders potentially pass on a quarterback in round one? I say it's a 50% chance. Here's what Jeremiah had to say. I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders decided to wait until day 2 of the draft to address the quarterback position. But I do see Sanders as a good fit in Chip Kelly's offense. So there's another person who does believe that Shedeur Sanders would be a good fit in Kelly's offense. And I have said this multiple times. I'm so confident in Chip Kelly, the OC. I'm not confident in Chip Kelly, the head coach, but I am really confident in Chip Kelly, the OC. And whatever quarterback that you put with Kelly, he's smart enough, he's good enough to be able to build an offense that really helps that person succeed to be their best potential quarterback. He's not a Josh McDaniels type of OC where no matter what, he's going to run the exact same system no matter who the QB is. So my question to the nation out there is this: which round will the Raiders draft a quarterback? You got 1 through 7. Let me know down below what round you think the Raiders are going to take a QB, and if you want some bonus points, maybe even a slice of birthday cake, let me know who that quarterback is going to be in that round. My answer would be the round that I believe is the most likely that the Raiders select a quarterback. I'm going to go either round 2 or round 3, and I say that because of the position itself. I do think that the Raiders want a quarterback. However, the only QB that I would legitimately take right now in the top 6 picks is Cam Ward. And if Shedeur Sanders is on the board there at 6, I'm going to be intrigued by it. But I also wonder if Shedeur wanting to be a Raider and Dion wanting Shedeur to be a Raider, if the Raiders were to pass on him at 6, how far does Sanders slide? Because you talk to a lot of NFL draft scouts out there, and I think after the combine, his value is going to continue to fall and fall and fall. But when you look at my quarterback draft rankings for the Las Vegas Raiders, I think you could get Jalen Milroe in round 2, round 3. Jackson Dart, round 2, round 3. You could get a Will Howard, round 2, round 3. And a lot of the quarterbacks that I personally like for Las Vegas, you could see them potentially take on day 2 or early in day 3. But also, it's about the picks. You got 2 third-round picks and a second-round pick. Because you have 3 picks there, And because the Raiders have 3 6-round picks, I anticipate that the Raiders are going to use one of those thirds to potentially move up, or you could even see the Raiders potentially trade back into the back end of round 1 if there's a run on quarterbacks. I just don't think that there's going to be a run on quarterbacks in round 1. Only time's going to tell. Let's go to the next story here on the show. Should the Raiders be interested in running back Najee Harris from the Pittsburgh Steelers? This one is also going to be 2 just win babies, because I could make an entire show telling you why the Raiders should be interested in Najee Harris. I could also do an entire show of round why they really shouldn't be interested in Najee. He's a good running back, physical runner, 26 years old, and according to Ben Rolfe from Pro Football Network, the Raiders are a great spot for Harris. Right now, when you look at Spotrac, they have him projected at about $9.2 million, and depending on who you talk to, you could say that he's arguably the best running back on the open market. If it was up to me, I would say the clear top 2 running backs on the open market are Najee Harris and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, if you want to go maybe 1 to 2 year deal, if you're looking for a longer-term running back deal, Najee could be that guy. Though, it's very important that the Raiders don't overspend at the running back position because of how deep this running back class is. If you want to sign Najee on a contract that's friendly for like a 1-year deal, think about the way that we talk about quarterbacks. Bridge QB, if your mindset is to have Najee Harris be a bridge running back for one of those young guys, I'm okay with it. If you're just going to sign Najee to a 4-year deal and you want him to be that guy for 4 years, then I don't love that option. Here's what Pro Football Network had to say on the Raiders targeting Najee Harris. Well, it's not an exciting option. He is a durable option with a proven history as both a runner and a receiver. Harris has topped 1,000 rushing yards in each of his first 4 seasons and has a 74-catch season on his resume. If Pete Carroll wants the next version of Marshawn Lynch for his team, Harris could be that player. Lynch was no more dynamic than Harris during the first 4 years of his career, but his career took off in Seattle. The fit feels right, and the Raiders have the cap space to pay for a running back. If they do not want to spend the 6th pick on Ashton Genty, then Harris could be the ideal starting running back for Pete Carroll and the Raiders. Oh, I will say this. It is a really bad comparison comparing Marshawn Lynch and Najee Harris because, quite frankly, they're like not even close to the same running back. I know Najee looks like a big old physical dude, and he looks like a Derrick Henry. He looks like a Marshawn Lynch, but they're running styles. Najee's a thumper and tries to thump, but Marshawn also was just way more of a physical type of running back, and Najee's a better pass catcher than I think what Lynch was at the peak of his career with Pete. But I understand the comparison because Najee at times didn't look great in Pittsburgh. He looked pretty damn good against the Raiders this past season, but you know that Carroll's going to want to run the rock. You know that this offense is going to be wanting to be balanced, but also having a reliable running back. One of my favorite parts about Najee's game is his ability to block. You know, we talk a lot about the offensive line. You talk a lot about these other positions, but sometimes you need to be able to have a reliable running back that can also pass block, that also might be able to run block from time to time, and that physical dude who's able to stay on the field. My biggest concern when you go out and you pay a running back is how healthy are they going to be? Najee's been one of the healthiest running backs out there, and I think it's because he's just genuinely bigger than most running backs, and I wonder if he could have some of that longevity like Derrick Henry has. Not going to be even close to as good as Derrick Henry, but can he have the longevity like a King Henry has. Also, though, if you're trying to build this locker room, if you're going to bring players in, I want guys that are a good locker room fit. And if Max Crosby thinks that Najee Harris is a good locker room fit, that's just a little bit of a cherry on top if we go out and get him. Here's what Mad Max had to say about the Raiders bringing in Harris. He's from the Bay. Najee's a baller. Anybody that could help win when it comes to winning and being a culture guy, a leader, that's the type of guy I want around. You've seen Najee. He's played 4 years in the league and has had 1,000 yards every season. That alone is impressive. He is a tough effort and hard to tackle, too. I'd love to have a guy like Najee around. Selfishly, he could come to Vegas all day. I mean, that's right there. The number one player that the Raiders are trying to lock in for a long-term deal. When Max Crosby talks about you that way, you got to listen. And he is a great locker room player. He is a physical running back that's been able to stay healthy. He's a solid blocker. But it also, by you going out and getting Harris, it allows you to wait a little bit longer on that running back that you take. I think Ashton Genty's a hell of a back. I love Amari and Hampton. There's a lot of really good running backs in this class. And if it was up to me, I personally would like the Raiders' overall roster if, hypothetically, if let's say you were to sign Najee Harris, then you go out and you draft let's say, a Mason Graham and Abdul Carter, maybe it's somebody on your offensive line at 6 instead of taking Ashton Genty, where you're able to build that offensive line a little bit more, maybe longevity in the draft, and then you can find some of those really good running backs. Because, dude, I'm telling you, like Ollie Gordon, you want Ollie Gordon in round 3, maybe round 4, or do you want to pay Najee Harris 9.2? If you want to combine them, I'm okay with that idea as well, because signing Harris does give you the flexibility to wait on a running back in the 2025 draft. But here's the question. If you could pick between these two, because I would say these are the top 2 backs in the open market this season. You got Aaron Jones, who I get it, is up there in age, but Aaron Jones has also been able to stay healthier 2 out of the last 3 seasons. He's a better pass catcher, maybe not as much of a thumper, but overall, if you told me 1 year and 1 year only, Aaron Jones is the guy that I would go with. He doesn't have the longevity that Najee does. Najee, to me, is the safer option in terms of being healthy, but these are the decisions that John Spytek, Tom Brady, and Pete Carroll are going to have to make. So let's play this game. Sign a running back. Do you want Aaron Jones at $5.6 million, or would you want Najee Harris at $9.2 million? NH for Najee, AJ for Aaron Jones. My answer is this. I am going to go with Aaron Jones at $5.6 million, which is why I didn't give the Najee 4 just win babies. The Raiders should be interested. You should pick up the phone and you should call Najee and see what the asking price is. If you can get him at maybe like 7.5 on a 2-year deal, I'm okay with that. But if you're trying to give Harris a 4-year like a 4-year, $48 million deal, something like Josh Jacobs got, I'm not interested in that type of paycheck for somebody like Najee Harris. I would much rather you go 1-year rental, bridge running back, draft the next guy, and then let that running back learn underneath a professional like Aaron Jones, and then you allow that running back that you take in round 3. Maybe you take him in round 4, and then that's your starting running back for the next 3 seasons. Before we get into the trade rumor around Deebo Samuel, because before you say, Mitch, it's crazy, I do this show to talk about crazy, but I also do this show to educate people, because I think if I were to say, do you want the Raiders to trade for Deebo Samuel, all 700 people watching this live show right now are going to be like, no, I don't want anything to do with Deebo Samuel. I hear you loud and clear. What if I told you you get him for $1.2 million? And you're like, all right, that's a little bit more interesting. I'll tell you how that could be possible here in just a moment. But our show sponsor is Panda Subs. If you're looking for any other products out there, this is the homepage. You can shop Panda, whatever you want personally. If you're trying to get a better night's sleep, if you're trying to stay up, maybe crank out some homework, if you're trying to have a healthier gut, the greens is something that I recommend. Some of their best sellers, a lot of them are their pre-workout. And from a lot of people that I've talked to that are that workout, I would say consistently, love their pre-workouts because it's strong, it wakes up your muscles, and it makes you get in and crush your workout. For anybody that spends over $100 and uses code FKC at pandasubs.com, if you spend over $100, you're going to get that shaker and you're going to get that bag. 25% off, pandasubs.com. We're still rocking code FKC because as far as I'm concerned, it's still the month of February, and this is still, somebody asked me the other day, Mitch, do you have another team? And I said, no, I don't have a favorite team. Though, in the month of February, I am low-key, like 1%, a little bit of a Philadelphia Eagles fan for them just beating the shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go to the final story here on today's episode of the Raiders Report. And should the Raiders trade for Deebo Samuel? I'm not going to say tuck rule, tuck that. I am, though, going to give this one only one just win, baby. And even though there is probably only 1% chance of this happening, I am a man that likes a good deal. I am a person that, I am somebody that always says, if it's free, it's for me. It's not free, but in the world of the NFL, this is as close to free as what you are going to get. So Deebo has been linked to the Raiders. He's been linked to a bunch of teams this offseason because from what it sounds like, the 49ers would like to be able to move on from him. If you haven't seen, he's looking 20 to 25 pounds overweight, according to multiple reports. And the Raiders are a football team that want to run the ball a lot this offseason. You can say what you want about Deebo Samuel as a receiver, but Deebo is a good athlete and might be able to run the rock from time to time. I'm not going to pay Deebo what the Niners are paying him, which his cap hit if he stays on San Francisco is $31 million this year. That's why the 49ers want to move on from him. They're in a little bit of salary cap hell. They got to figure out what they got in Brock Purdy. So for San Francisco, they want to move on from Deebo, and they would take, I honestly think, almost just about anything so they don't have to just outright cut him. If you're the Raiders and you trade for Deebo Samuel, you get him at $1.2 million based on the way his contract is structured. So you could get a Deebo at 29 years old at $1.2 million. If the San Francisco 49ers, they call you and they go, hey, fifth-round pick for Deebo at 1.2, I would say yes, only if I don't got to pay Deebo the year after. If Deebo wants to not only whatever team he goes to, he also wants a brand new contract, I ain't doing it. Like, I don't want Deebo at 1.2 in 2025, and then I got to give him a brand new deal in 2026 and 2027. That's not what I'm interested in. If Deebo's willing to take a $1.2 million deal, shit, I'll give him $10 million in incentives if he can stay healthy and prove to be a decent player. I'm okay with that. But $1.2 million, when you hear that number, all I say is you at least got to think about it. So one more time here are our Raiders rumors. Could the Raiders pass on a quarterback in round one? I would say there's a 50% chance that they don't draft a QB at 6. Could the Raiders be interested in Najee Harris? I would say yes, you got to pick up the phone, you got to give it a call. But if Aaron Jones is also willing to play, hey, why can't we take 2 to tango? And then, should you trade for Deebo at 1.2? You at least got to think about it. If he wants anything more, if he wants a long-term deal, then I'm sorry, I'm out.